Hello world, it's Nikolai here, finally back from my working holiday and full-time now involved into the production and development of Imbalanced Factions, which is the fourth expansion in the series of fan expansions which I am adapting for physical production. Now, in this part, I hope to do a demo of you how this actually works. But first, a few production updates, starting with the layout of the unit sheets and the different units and how it's going to be printed out. Now, I tested this already and made a representative sample for the Imperial unit sheet. Here is how it looks like. 7 pieces, easily folds. When you flip it on the back side, everything is positioned correctly. Now, this is just a layout. There's no units here printed, so it's important to get how these things are getting cut and folded correctly. There is one thing here that sort of oversight on my part about the front and back side was misaligned by a few millimeters, but that's already been fixed. So next production we'll have it shown correctly. All right, now let's move on to the new artwork I commissioned from my friend Rodrigo Ochoa. And here the idea was to remove all the units that were no longer in the expansion and focus on all the leaders and units that are inside. So the Starhawk, we have the Grand Inquisitor, and of course a Juggernaut, Princess Leia, and there's 2 tubes over here, and we have prop droids. So this will all be featured in the expansion when it's completed. Okay, now moving on to the specific scenario I would like to show today. And I'm referring to the situation where you as the Rebel player get to draw your first objective, be Rebel Assault. Now, in this objective, you need to obviously attack and destroy a Star Destroyer. And in the beginning of the game, all the air units of the Rebels are these, assuming you are playing the base game version. So you have 2 Y-Wings, 2 X-Wings, 1 Corellian Corvette, and a transport. Those are all your air units. And of course, one of the several fleets the Empire has around the map probably consists of a Star Destroyer, 3 TIE fighters, and assault carrier. And these are the representative dice for each. Now, you may be wondering why there are 2 green dice here. I'll come back to that in a moment. But in general, the Empire looks a lot stronger if you look at the stats. They just have a lot more dice, a lot more overall health. So the objective here of the Rebels is not to win, obviously. The objective is to destroy the Star Destroyer and hopefully escape with whatever is left. So that's what we'll try to do. And let's go over the updates I did on the units for the past few weeks. So for the X-Wing, we have some refinement. And things like all the dice have this rounded corner shape, all the health have this octagon shape, and the effect, it no longer looks like a dice, it does look like a recessed part of the unit, and it looks like an effect on a dice rather than a dice on its own. And here the difference is now that you get, if you have 2 X-Wings, you get to be able to flip one of the black dice. Doesn't matter who rolled this die, I mean which one of the Rebel ships. But yeah, 2 X-Wings get to flip one black die in whichever way they want. Okay. Now, the Y-Wing is exactly the same, except the effect refers to a red die. Okay. Corellian Corvette, a very minor change here to the middle part, but this is actually not a huge downgrade, since the way this works now is you get to remove 1 green die with the result that it has been rolled before it's been applied. So this is actually important. If the, let's say, the Imperial player has green dice and they've rolled the wreck hit, the Corellian Corvette can remove that green die before it's the wreck hit is applied to one of the Rebel units. Rebel Transport, a lot of changes here, but the gist of it is that it's now more versatile and As you've noticed in the other units, I get to explain every effect directly on the unit itself, so it's easier. You get to see the icon and you get to see the explanation at the same time. Now there's this new icon here which I made, and this icon is now present on every unit which does not roll dice on its own. And this is to help you remember that if that unit gets to not roll any dice at all, like its side, like for example the rebels have a transport and they don't roll any die in this combat step, at the end, if they do not retreat, that unit is automatically destroyed. The other units being, of course, the 2 structures and the Death Star under construction. Okay, TIE Fighter. Wow, this actually, I sweated this effect quite a bit to come up to this specific refinement. So now, instead of 2 TIE Fighters rolling 1 green die, 3 TIE Fighters, if you have them in the battle, they get to roll 2 green die. So if you have 2 TIE Fighters, you don't get anything, any bonus. So this bonus only applies if you have 3. And the reason this looks like this is because the shape itself is sort of cut, only 1/3 of it is visible, the other 2 are hidden. So if you have 2 more units, essentially you get to sort of like reveal the full effect. Okay. Assault Carrier, just a minor refinement here, mostly to indicate that the additional unit that gets deployed happens to do so after the dice are rolled, but before they are applied as effects. I'll explain this in a little bit later. Star Destroyer, a little bit of a nerf here, just so that I can add this effect here, which is the Tractor Beam. So since the expansion, the whole point of the expansion is to play without advanced tactic cards, one of the advanced tactic cards has to do with, being able to capture a leader. And so if you no longer have that card, I decided to build the effect right into the ship itself. So I'll explain this somewhere else. But all the Star Destroyers and the Super Star Destroyers have this icon now to indicate that they have a Tractor Beam effect. All right. Now, a bit more about the battle steps. So let's see if I can make sense of this. Now, in the base game, what you do is you collect the dice, and then you roll them. And then, if you have a leader, you get to re-roll the dice. Okay, so far so good. Now, we have a new die effect here, which means that if you have 2 of whatever unit, you can have 1 die of whatever color. So this is just an additional indicator of how you can collect more dice. We've already explained that with the X-Wing, Y-Wing TIE Fighter. The new effects are units that flip their dice. So here, that will be the Imperial units will have an effect like looks like that, and the Rebel units will have this lighter shade. And I also proposed a previous video that we will have a new effect for the leaders. Instead of them re-rolling dice, they'll be switching dice. And I'll explain this in a moment again. But essentially, once you collect and roll the dice, maybe you'll be able to flip some of your dice, and then instead of doing leader re-rolls, you get to switch the dice. So essentially that covers your own part of the battle step. And the last part before we move on to the opponent effects, you get to deploy the new any new units if applicable. And so after you do all your actions with the dice before applying them, so you take them, you roll them, you flip them, you switch them, you deploy units, then before you apply any effects, then it's the opponent's side to do something to influence how what you've rolled. And what they can do is they can re-roll your dice, they can flip them, or they can remove them altogether. And they have, of course, options for either space and ground theater of operations. And so that's the whole organization of the battle steps. Where we're going to do the demo, we're going to do it over this sheet. I call this a battle sheet. And we're going to need some representation to look, and I've come up with this simple unit sheet just with the units that we're going to need. So we have the 4 rebel units and the 3 imperial units. And I'll just put it here. And so we have our sheet and we have our units. I'm just going to place them. So Star Destroyer goes here. The 3 TIE fighters go on position 1. Assault carrier on position 2. And then we have the 2 rebel ships on position 2 and the 4 rebel fighters on position 1. Okay, and then we have here slots for the leaders. I'm just gonna use Tarkin since he has 2 space space tactic value, and Jan Dodonna. Okay, so let's move the dice tower a bit closer. So this is my dice tower that I'm going to use. It both acts as a dice tower and a leader pool. So while I'm not using the dice, I'm putting them here so that they can be, used as a leader pool. And we'll see how this works in a moment. All right, so what do we do first? So we have our units here on the board with their health value. And so we are now not using any advanced tactic cards. So we're skipping that step. First thing we need to do is just collect the relevant dice as usual. So for the rebels, we have 2 black for the 2 X-wings, 2 red for the 2 Y-wings, and additional red and black because of the Corellian Corvette. So it's total 3 red and 3 black. Okay, and we roll them as usual. Okay, so I'm gonna take the dice out here so we can clearly see. All right, so what do we have? We can probably definitely use this. And now here we have the effect of the X-Wing, which is if we have 2 ships, and we do, we can flip 1 black die. So we can take 1 black die and we can flip it on the other side. And same for the Y-Wing. We have 2 Y-Wings, so we can definitely flip 1 of the dice, and I'm just going to use this one just as an example. I can just put it on the other side. And now we have 4 dice that we can use. All right. Okay, so far so good. Now I'm just going to put the 2 damage here to the Star Destroyer. And now for these 2, I'm going to use the leader effect. And remember, the leader effect now is not a reroll, but it's a die switch. So if I have tactic value of 2, I can change any 2 dice of 1 color with the corresponding dice of another color. So I can just take, let's say I can put these away, and I can use 2 dice that are in the dice pool and just switch them around. So now I have 2 red and these 2 direct hits. I can add 2 additional damage to the Star Destroyer, and we have it at 0. Okay, if we did the last 2 dice, there's nothing I can do about them. So I'll just leave them for now. Now we have 2 more effects which we haven't used from the Rebels. That one is the removal of a green die, and the other one is the reroll of 2 Imperial dice. We're gonna keep those since they are done after the Imperials are done their roll. So that was it. I re-rolled the dice, I applied some effects like the flipping and the die switching, and now it's time for the Imperials to roll their dice. They obviously have 2 red and 1 black for the Star Destroyer, 3 more for the TIE fighters, and 1 more black and 1 red one for the assault carrier. And because we have 3 ships, 3 TIE fighters, I get to roll 2 additional green dice. So that's a lot of dice. Okay, I'm just gonna put these back here, and we're gonna load. Oh wow. Okay, so let's take these out. A lot of direct hits. So the Empire has a really good commander, it seems. All right, so now it's time to now use the Corellian Corvette. So I can remove 1 of the green dice. I can just put it back in the leader, in the dice pool. And I can re-roll any 2 dice. So let's just re-roll. I'm going to re-roll actually this one so that I can prevent Tarkin from turning into a red die with a corresponding symbol and saving the Star Destroyer. So I'm going to re-roll this die, and I'm going to re-roll, let's say, one of the black ones. Okay. Okay, so there we go. Now these are our final results, and we can definitely destroy the Corellian Corvette, we can definitely destroy 2 Y-Wings, and maybe another X-Wing. And so this is the end of the first round, essentially. All these ships are destroyed. The rebels get to score their objective because they destroyed the Star Destroyer. And now they can retreat with the remaining rebel transport and X-Wing, and the Empire remains with the assault carrier and 3 TIE fighters. So essentially, this makes the battle a little bit, maybe quite a bit faster overall. And if the rebels are focused on their objective, they can achieve it without, spending multiple rounds going battling it out. Okay, so I think there's one more thing to show you. And so in the next video, I hope to have the unit sheet for the demo itself made in the same fashion like that, but with all the units. So all the new units or the new version of the units will be on one side, and the originals will be on the other side. I should have a separate sheet, maybe explaining just a little bit more the sequence of things. And I actually want to have this available on my shop so that everybody can get this and try it at home. I think it's kind of cool. And as I mentioned in previous videos, you will be able to use the advanced tactic cards with this mod. I'm just recommending you start first without them, so that you can get used to the new units and new abilities. And you've probably noticed that what I've done is I've kept the original unit and its health value exactly the same, and figured out how to add something a little bit extra in the remaining space. So unlike previous versions of this demo or this expansion, I haven't modified anything about the original units and how they work. I've only added a little bit more, so they become a little bit more different than one another. So not 2 units are alike, even between ground and space. So for example, X-Wing has 1 black die and 1 black health. The only difference is that it has some special effect. And the assault carrier, again, the only difference is that it can deploy units. And same for the Star Destroyer. So I hope you enjoyed this, and looking forward to the next video. I probably will try to make it even a bit sooner than next Sunday or Saturday. So thank you so much, and may the force be with you.